Tottenham lose their last pre-season game against Barcelona, but there is plenty of positives to take. Yes, guys, hello and welcome back to the Spurs-related YouTube channel and podcast. I hope everyone's doing very well tonight. Today, we are talking about the Tottenham versus Barcelona game, which has just ended in Barcelona. Tottenham 2, Barcelona 4 was the final score after a very, very positive start. But like I said in the intro, there is positives to take, and we were going to analyze every single part of that game. And I'm very, very happy to be joined alongside Jack of SpursRelated as always. Jack, how you doing?
James, I'm doing well. Looking forward to this one. A really exciting final pre-season match, especially playing the big boys, Barcelona. Disappointing result, but at the end of the day, you can tell Ange ball. It's really underway.
It's on the way. Absolute mud at the end, to be honest with you. But we've also been, I'm very happy to announce we are joined alongside Kish of Lily White Labs. Fantastic channel, fantastic source of brilliant content. Kish, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good, bro. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, I'm happy with that performance, I think. A lot of positives to take, but obviously bad end to the game. But I think in terms of a friendly, that's a good run out for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get into things, maybe talk the first half and then second half. And guys, let us know what you thought about that match just now. If you did watch it, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm actually going to whack the secret word in 2 minutes today. A little bit different. Secret word is pre-season in capitals. And I want you to let me know what you thought about that game and also what you thought of pre-season in total. Are you confident for the new season? But while you're doing that, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you are new for more content throughout the season. Let's get 100 likes today. I know we can do it. I know it. But I'm going to start with Kish, as he's our guest. Kish, talk me through that first half for you. I know you just said there was positives, but how good was it?
So I think, obviously, barring, I think the first 10 or 20 minutes, 10 to 15, I'd say, which was a bit shaky. I think the main difference that I saw is I've watched many Spurs second string team performances over the last few years that look disjointed. They look often sluggish, kind of like they've never played together. And that performance there, especially against the level of opposition, that was something completely different. That was like something that looked fluid, looked cohesive, kind of moved as one machine, kind of everyone knew where they needed to be. I think in terms of, especially in possession, I think it was great, barring that first 10 minutes. There was a few kind of defensive frailties, I think, throughout the game. I think at times we looked vulnerable. That doesn't surprise me, looking at the back four that was picked. But in possession, I think the kind of the ease at which we played through the lines and cut them open within 4 or 5 passes, that just shows kind of the progress we've already made before the season's even started. And it kind of just got me more excited to see the Brentford game and kind of that same level of football with just a higher caliber of player. I think that's really exciting stuff.
No, you've summarized it quite well there. In terms of, I'll come to Jack next, but Kish, just your thoughts on the sort of Brentford game. How confident are you going into it based on obviously that performance today, plus obviously Kane coming back in the fold? Maddison obviously didn't feature. You've even got Deki, Kulusevski, even Bentancur obviously in a few months' time. But in terms of the weekend, are you fairly confident, or do you think that defense is going to let us down. Obviously, we didn't play Romero, today. But what's your thoughts?
In terms of Brentford, I'm confident. To be fair, I haven't seen much of their preseason. I'm not sure. I know obviously Tony will be missing and stuff. But in terms of us, I don't think that back four is anywhere near as frail as what this back four that played today will be. So I think Romero is brilliantly suited to Postecoglou football, as is Van der Ven, and I'm hoping that he comes straight in. I don't think there's a kind of alternative. I think Udogie is way better than people kind of had this perception of him being defensively. I think in transitions he's great. He's physically brilliant, and his decision making for such young players top as well. So kind of his ability to time his underlapping runs in the final third is great, which is why he kind of put up good numbers in his last 2 seasons. And then in defensive transitions, he's fast, he's strong. So it just means he can win the ball back constantly and kind of recycle and kind of sustain those waves of attacks. So all in all, I think the first team will kind of do what was done today and more against Brentford, and I'm confident.
Yeah, no, very, very interesting in terms of what you're saying. Obviously, hopefully Van der Ven does come in against Brentford. I don't know if it's too soon. I don't know if he's match fit. Not too sure, but I think I'd rather play a half match fit Van der Ven than Eric Dyer today. Don't get me started on him because we will not be here 15 minutes. We will be here half an hour because I'll absolutely lose my head. But Jack, I'm going to come to you. Who were your standouts today and who were you disappointed with? And I'm going to start very quickly with Eric Dyer, and I am going to be quick. And I just said I'm going to go on a rant, but what on earth is he doing for that 4th goal? He is jogging back and then watching them run through with Fatty. I think it was the 3rd goal, actually. I mean, it is shocking. I genuinely believe Eric Dyer is the worst out of Tanganga, Sanchez, Rodon. Honestly, I do not understand how we're still lining up with this guy. I know it's pre-season.
Maybe not necessarily, James. Would you say, I know a lot of fans are going to be in agreement with you in that Eric Dyer is not a good player in general, but especially in this system, in my opinion, his best traits probably are he likes to switch the play. He's quite aerially dominant sometimes, and he's very physical. And he's probably not the worst one-on-one defender. But in a high line, it's a recipe for disaster every time because it's clear he hasn't got much explosive pace. He's not very good on the half turn, really. Sometimes it's like a fridge, if we're being honest. Like, he just doesn't have the ability to turn on the half turn. Like you saw Ansu Fati straight away just glided past. But just quickly come to that 3rd goal as well. Barcelona's tricky winger, the 16-year-old, he absolutely spun Reguilon, which then led to Sanchez and Reguilon drifting to the side of the pitch, which created so much space. And we know how slow Eric Dyer is anyway. It was just a recipe for disaster. But then again, I don't think we should spend too much time on that because there's far more positives that we can talk about rather than just one defensive.
But Jack, I know you want to stay positive for the new season. I get that, but I have to make a point that Eric Dyer is not good enough for this team. He's not good enough to be a backup. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm going over the top here, but I'm just sick every few months coming on this podcast, especially when the season's in play. It's like every other week. It's talking about an Eric Dyer mistake. Davinson Sanchez, excuse me. I mean, Davinson Sanchez was good tonight. We're talking about that as well. But Eric Dyer, I'm bored of it now. I'm literally just bored of talking about him. We have to move on. But for some reason, we're keeping him for another bloody 3-4 years, probably. I mean, Kish, what are your thoughts on Eric Dyer? Am I being too harsh? Be honest. And obviously,
I think he'd be the first. I think he'd be the first, one of the first on the transfer list if it wasn't that his contract was up next summer. And I also think his stock is so low right now that there's not many suitors for him. I think he's quite a specific profile of centre back, especially in the modern game. I think he'd do okay in a low block team. Think like Daesh kind of side, because he's a good box defender. He's great at obviously getting his head on things. And then I think he's decent. He's okay in the middle of a back three, kind of he's okay in those central, kind of bringing the ball out of defense and then pinging balls from side to side, and kind of marshalling the back five. But in a four, I think he's not good, and especially in this system. But I don't think he'll be even fourth choice. I don't see him being fourth choice. I think we're going to bring in one more. And then if Tanganga stays, I'd see him as fourth choice. And I kind of think Postecoglou will be the same with that.
But he hasn't really given Tanganga. Correct me if I'm wrong, lads. Tanganga hasn't had. Is he injured at the moment?
He started against West Ham, I believe, which was kind of his first lineup. Postecoglou's first lineup.
Yeah, true.
Can't remember, and he had a half against the
Lion City, was it?
The other two. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure, but I've seen him linked to Inter Milan today. I just think he's way more suited to Postecoglou's system because of that pace. And he's an agile defender. He can play at fullback, which means he's aggressive. He can play at fullback, which means he's good in those wide channels, 1v1. He's not great on the ball, but he's okay. And I think as a fourth centre back, he'd be more than fine, especially us playing one game a week this season. I don't think fourth centre back will get many opportunities.
Okay, interesting. And Gish, sticking with you, mate. Positives today. Which players? I know you mentioned Sanchez before we went recorded this video. Any others? Obviously, feel free to mention what you thought about Sanchez today as well, because he does get a lot of stick on the channel.
Yeah, so I think Sanchez has been a victim of the club itself over the last few years. He's a specific type of centre back. He doesn't really shine in a low block or even a mid block, from which we've been playing. He's great when there's space to behind him to be aggressive, and then on the turn he can cover very well. He's a covering defender. He's not great on the ball, but kind of if you put those possession structures in place, like we've had in the last couple of games, he's got options all over the all sides, and kind of they're not difficult passes. They're 5-yard passes into the midfielder, 5-yard passes into the fullback, because obviously those fullbacks tuck in, which obviously makes that pass even shorter. So I think he was good today, but that's kind of because it's a system that suits him, and I think he should have been moved on years ago if we weren't going to play that kind of system. In terms of other standouts, I thought Bissouma ran the game today. I thought he was excellent. I think part of the reason Sanchez looked good or looked decent on the ball is because of Bissouma, because he didn't hide once. He constantly showed for the ball and was so press resistant when he was on it. I think he's got to start against Brentford. I know he had a bit of a knock on Saturday, which is why he played in this game. But I'm really, really hoping that he plays. And then apart from that, I think Lo Celso was good again. Perisic was good. And those four would be my standouts. Yeah.
So, sorry, Kish. Perisic first half was brilliant. The two balls he played in for Skip was fantastic. Actually, Reguilon was involved in the first as well, did very well. And I thought Perisic has stated a bit of a claim to start against Brentford at left wing, in my opinion, because Son has been far off it. However, obviously, as we know, it takes a lot to drop Son. What would you say on that? Would you start Son, or would you think about Perisic after today?
You know what? I think this is their different kind of personality showing. I think Perisic he's a machine. Nothing phases him. He's a pro who's been about won big titles, and he kind of has that consistent level. He'll hit 7 out of 10 minimum every game, especially going forward. He's two-way winger, which I think is so important for an Ange system, meaning that he can come inside on his left or go outside on his right, which just makes him way more hard to predict. But Son, if we don't let ourselves forget, was under Pochettino when he first joined, was more of an out-and-out winger, and the fact that he's 2-footed as well adds that dimension to his his kind of place as well. I think the difference is Son is a patchy player, and I think right now he's in a low bout of confidence. I think he'll need to come out of that to get back to his levels, but I think he will. Especially with the difference between this kind of Postecoglou team and that Conte team is that in Conte's team it's more about moments, right? You get especially towards the end, he got maybe 2 or 3 chances in a game, or not many touches on the ball. Whereas this Postecoglou system means that he's constantly getting the ball, constantly getting those opportunities to run it as fullback, and that's the way you play someone into confidence. If they're consistently given the ball, it's only a matter of time till he starts beating his fullback, just by pure numbers. And I think once he gets familiar with that, gets more used to the system, I think we'll see a player who can definitely play as a kind of pure winger again.
And just for Kish on my end, it looks like it's a very 50-50 on whether Harry Kane's going to stay. And obviously, us as all Spurs fans, I'm sure we're in agreement that we'd love him to stay. But with the amount of chance creation we're making at the minute, before today's game, I think it was 101 chances in 3 games. Richarlison hasn't exactly lived up to that £60 million price tag as of yet, but we're creating so many chances. Do you think he's the type of mould of striker that can still deliver 10 to 15 goals, maybe more? Or do you reckon that Spurs need to get another replacement to add to Valise that we've already brought in as well?
In terms of Kane, I think obviously we're never gonna upgrade on Kane, and just full stop, regardless of system, regardless of anything. I think there's never been a better time to sell. If he's not on board, one thing I don't want to see is this kind of, we're in limbo. We go into the season, we're in six months into the season, he's still deciding whether he wants to sign a new contract. I don't want to see anything like that. I think he needs to come out as soon as possible and either make a decision to go or make a decision to stay, because we don't want that hanging over our heads for the whole season. Think about all the games. If Kane scores, the media are going to be asking Postecoglou about will he stay. I think Kane doesn't suit an Ange 9 purely. He's dropping a bit too deep at the moment, kind of clogging the space up for Maddison. But I think obviously if he wants to stay, he'll bag plenty of goals. In terms of Richarlison, I think Richarlison will do the same. I think Richarlison will score not as many, but he'll score enough goals. Any striker in there will score goals.
I totally agree. And I think Richarlison, albeit he hasn't lived up to his potential, but when you're creating that many chances and you're unlocking doors and you have the creativity of a Maddison and Lo Celso, and you even saw today how influential Bissouma can be off the ball, but even on the ball, his trickery around the box, his high press, the amount of ball recoveries we're going to make high up that pitch is going to lead to so many chances for the wingers and for the strikers that it's not, all the goal burden is not just going to be on Kane. So I think it's going to be interesting to see whether Kane does move on. And like you say, it might be the perfect time for Harry Kane to move on and take the money, especially if we're creating this many chances. But Harry Kane is such a good striker that he can fit into any system and he's still probably going to be the best player.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Let's see what happens with Kane. Let's see what lineup we make on Sunday against Brentford. I've gone from being a bit excited to a bit subdued at the end of that last game, but I understand there's a lot of positives to take. Kish, you've been fantastic. I know it's a bit of a short video today, but a little bit of a roundup on today's game. But I'm sure we'll get you back on, mate. I hope you've had a good one.
Yeah, Jack, good, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Jack, as always, cheers, mate. Guys, please smash like, subscribe, as always, and you know the score, guys. As always, come on, you Spurs!